Namaskar, dear students. I, Ms. Payal of ITL Public School, I am going to take you to another chapter of Class 7 Geography, chapter number 2. And that's what you're going to realize only by seeing the picture which is in front of you. Can you see over here how deep our earth is? You can really go inside the earth. Do you think so? Yes, we can, but only up to an extent. So we'll study more in detail about what is there inside our earth in this chapter. So come join me in the study. So let's dig deeper. So here is a conversation between two friends. Now they are going to start a mining business. So they want to get the coal out of the earth. So they are discussing how should we get it done. So they put a globe in front of them and they are trying to think what they can do. So they realize that it's not a very easy task. So let's see what are they doing. They are discussing the fact that the part we live is called as the crust. Think of it in this way. If the earth were the size of this globe, as the blank line in the outer circle around the globe, the crust is up to 35 kilometers thick on land and up to 5 kilometers under the oceans. So if you dig a 5-kilometer tunnel through the lowest point of the ocean, you would actually reach the next layer. The crust in the continents is mostly made up of silica and aluminium, known together as Cl. But the crust under the ocean beds is made up of silica and magnesium, or the SEMA. This is what friend 1 said. And what did he think? The friend 2 said that, but just under the crust is the mantle, right? It's whooping 2900 kilometers thick and it comes under the core. And in that you will find the innermost layer, which is the core, and another 3000 odd kilometer, making the radius of earth more than 6000 kilometer. And the crust then is no more than a dry skin of the onion. So what are we trying to talk over here? The friends are trying to say that there is a limit to which they can dig over here. Earth has various layers which you can see in front of you. The crust, the mantle and the core. And the core also of two parts, the inner core and the outer core. And they talk about the onion. Why onion? Have you seen the onion? Yes, children. The earth is just like an onion. So if you cut the onion from the center, you would be able to see how the interior of the earth looks like. Just like an onion, the earth is made up of several concentric layers, one inside the another. So there are various layers in the onion. Similarly, it's there in earth also. So once you cut open the earth, you might probably be able to see the different concentric layer which lies beneath it. Well, when we know that there are various layers, this diagram is going to help you understand the various layers of the earth. We have 3 layers of the earth: the crust, the mantle, and the core. When we talk of this, have you imagined how deep can you dig inside? Now, think of this movie when you talked about, think of the Hollywood movie that you had where you were going deep down into the earth. Are you able to recall that movie? Think. Yes. And they talked about the fact that they were going to reach the center of the earth. But do you think, is it really easy to reach the center of the earth? No, that's not possible. That's because the center of the earth is very hot. You would probably not be able to reach to that point also. To reach the center of the earth, you will have to dig a hole 6,000 kilometers deep in the ocean floor. So till the ocean only, it's becoming very difficult. Imagine going beneath the ocean floor. Very impossible task for us. And because of the heat, you probably won't be able to reach over there itself. So let's talk off to the layers, and you'll see that the uppermost layer over here is the crust. So the lithosphere, you can see where the land is there, it will consist of the crust. The second layer, if you go a little more deeper, you'll see the mantle over here. A little more deep, and you'll see the core, the inner core and the outer core. So the innermost part of the earth is called the inner core, and a little higher is the outer core. Now, since you have understood this diagram, let's take up the three layers of the earth one after one. So here is a quick mind map that what we are going to study next. The three layers of the earth, namely the crust, the mantle and the core. The crust, my dear children, it's the thinnest of all the layers. It's about 35 kilometers deep, right? It's the uppermost layer of the earth. We had just seen in the diagram also. Now this crust is made up of two parts, the continental crust and the oceanic crust. And we'll see that both the composition of these crusts are little different. They're not the same, because the continental crust is made up of silica and aluminium. That's why it's called as Sial. Oceanic crust is made up of silica and magnesium, and that's why it's called as Sima. Okay, so Sial and Sima. Well, the second layer, we go a little more deep and we get the mantle down there. It's situated just beneath the crust and has a depth of 2900 kilometers. Okay, moving ahead then. Core, the innermost layer, and it has a radius of about 3500 kilometers. It's made up of nickel and iron, okay? And that's why it is called as Nifi. And as I told you, can you reach the center of the earth? No, there's high temperature and pressure over there. It's impossible to reach the core. So let's take up the crust in detail now. So here, my dear children, crust is the uppermost layer of the earth's surface, and it's the thinnest of the layer. Have you seen the pizza? The crust? You have a thin crust pizza also, right? Yummy, yummy. Yes, the earth's crust is just like the pizza crust. It's very thin, right? And it forms only 0.5% of the volume of the entire earth. And if you talk of the next layers, you will see that 16% is of the mantle and 83% makes up the core. So the majority portion will be there in the core, then in the mantle, and a very small portion has been covered up by the crust. So now students, you must know that the crust is made up of two layers. So it's divided into the continental crust and the oceanic crust. The continental crust is a little deeper and little thicker, consisting of 35 kilometers on the continental crust. That is where the continents lie. And the oceanic crust is a little thinner, right? So the crust, when we're talking about, it is 35 kilometers on the continent, whereas only 5 kilometers on the oceanic floors. The oceanic crust, which will consist mainly of the ocean floor, it is going to be having a different constituent, which is the silica and magnesium. That's why it is called as Sima. Whereas the mineral constituent of the continental crust is a little different. It consists of silica and aluminium, and that is why it is called as Sial. So now can you differentiate between the two types of crust? Yes, we have the continental crust and the oceanic crust. Continental crust will have a density or the thickness of about 35 kilometers, whereas the oceanic crust will have it only of the 5 kilometers. Oceanic crust consists of the mineral constituent of sima, that's why silica and magnesium, whereas the continental crust consists of silica and alumina, and that's why it's called as Cr. Now that you have understood, let me take you further to the next layer of the earth. What is it? It's the mantle. Yes. So the second layer is the mantle, which is just below the crust. So the next layer after the crust is mantle, which extends up to a depth of 2900 kilometers. So if you start measuring it from the crust, you will go down into the earth to around 2900 kilometers, right? So below the crust, you dig deeper and deeper for about 2900 kilometers more and you reach the mantle. After the constituent of mantle, we have the core, and the core consists of the innermost layer of the earth. Now, what is this core made up of? It's made up of nickel and iron. Nickel is represented by Ni, or on the other hand, iron it's written as Fe, ferrous. Okay, so iron is also called as ferrous. So now can you find the nickname of core? Yes, it's also called as Nifi because it's made up of nickel and iron. Okay, and what is the radius of this? So when you take a a measuring tape and you start measuring the circle of the core, you will see that the perimeter or the radius would come out to be 3500 kilometers. So it's very vast, right? But then core also has two layers. It can be divided up into the outermost core and the innermost core, or simply as the outer core or the inner core. So the outer core is having the magma in the liquid form, whereas if you go to the inner core, which is practically impossible, but you'll see it is actually a solid layer. So my friends, let's again summarize that first we talked about the crust, then the mantle, then the outer core and the inner core. And the inner core has a very high temperature and a lot of pressure. So it's very difficult to reach the center of the earth. Right. Now I'm going to leave you with some interesting facts. Do you know that the deepest mine in the world is in South Africa? And it's about 4 kilometers deep. In search for oil, the engineers, they have to dig a hole about 6 kilometers deep to reach there. Fact number 2, to reach the center of the earth, which is not possible, you will have to dig a hole of about 6,000 kilometers deep into the ocean floor. So these are the 2 interesting facts that I leave you with and a lot more research that you have to do. So go ahead, enjoy your class. Hope you have understood this concept. Thank you everyone.